Now, go.
I have their actual book. Cheryl gave it to me. Good afternoon. Many of you would like to know the secret of prolonging your life. I know how a cure for every disease known to man. You come to the right person because I have the answers for you. That's precisely what many people are looking for in Union City in the 1900s when they subscribed to the Society of the
Philosophers.
Yep, of Living Fire. I'd better explain what our society is about before you decide to purchase a subscription for $1 from our esteemed publication, the
Philomathean.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell people it's important, but here it is, right here. I did practice this. My name is Jessie Rogers Barton, and I was born in 1873 in Allegan, Michigan. My father, Marshall Rogers, was a vitopathic healer in Union City, and is also buried here in the Riverside, along with my beloved mother, Rosanna Still. What is a vitopathic healer, you might ask? This was a holistic approach to the integrating the power of the spirit, the mind, and the body to perform health and healing. He sold fine elixirs. They claimed to cure cancer, diabetes, epilepsy, blood poisoning, nervousness, bladder control, eczema, dropsy, rheumatism, plus men and women's troubles. If you're wondering what the troubles are, well, they're somewhat personal, so we'll leave that behind closed doors. Hundreds of people would order these cures through the mail at Post Office Box 231 in Union City. He was also known as the clairvoyant and
Clairaudient.
and I'm not going to do that one. Meaning he could see and hear from the past. As you can imagine, my upbringing was somewhat unconventional, and it fostered a love of learning about topics foreign to Union City, such as Oriental mysticism, Hinduism, Buddhism. I soon fell in love with a young man named David Patterson and married him in Scotts, Michigan. We had a son named Marshall after my father. Sadly, my husband died from consumption in 1897, not long after we were married.
Is that Kathy?
In 1899, and I brought tissue. I have some. I could tell a joke right now, but it doesn't matter. In 1899, several years later, I met Henry J. Barton, a lawyer from Chicago with a practice in Union City, and we were married the same year. We soon had two amazing daughters, Rosanna, named after my mother, and the gifted artist, Messina, would go on to become a famous in her own right after studying at the Art Institute of Chicago. I will speak about her more later. Oh, where was I? Okay. Oh yes, my husband Henry, he was also interested in the mysteries and the universe and ancient societies. We would have long conversations about these topics, and he introduced me to his friend, Reuben Swinburne Clymer, who came to Union City and operated a International Academy of Natural and Sacred Science. He offered a course in the natural system of healing. He was a pescatarian who practiced alternative medicine and studied ancient religions. Clymer soon saw an opportunity to make some money with mail-order cures here in Union City. Henry, Reuben, my father, and I all began the Philosophers of the Living Fire Society, and the City Publishing Company. Our publication was called the
Philomathian.
right there. A few copies are still
That's
exist
the one
today.
in your hand. That's the book. That's the one they're referring to. That one.
Yeah, it's $1. It's so tiny, the print, for some things, you can't read it because they don't want you reading it.
Yeah.
You need their elixir so you can read it, get better eyes.
Okay, moving right along. There are a few copies still today. I was the chief editor, secretary, and generally ran the business, while my father supplied the cures. My husband Henry was known as the supreme Rabboni of the Temple of the Living Fire. You probably wonder what Rabboni is. It's a term derived from the word rabbi and means teacher or master. Our philosophy was to care for the sick, clothe the naked, tend to the wounds of the afflicted, in accordance with the teachings of Jesus Christ. I'm glad they put that in. We wanted to be official, so we filled the Register of Deeds, and Henry was granted the jurisdiction to perform marriages, conduct funerals, offer religious counsel, and receive confessions. He had a long list of subscribers, and we were doing quite well. But it was not too long before we caught the attention of the Postmaster General, and he issued a fraud order against our organization. We knew that was the end of the society, and sadly, it was also the end of my marriage. 1907, we divorced. I and my daughters moved to Chicago. That was a challenging time for a divorced woman with 2 children. I continued to pursue my writing and poetry. I published books entitled The Living Fire, The Soul Power of the Universe, and Atonement. My books teach several topics that would be considered ahead of their time today, eccentric to some, such as astral projection and tapping into latent powers of telepathy and R-E-I-K-I.
Reiki.
I wasn't going to say it. Telepathy, if you don't know, is the ability to project one's thoughts to another subconsciously. Let me share you with an experience of my telepathy with a book, The Living Fire. Some years ago, I was at work, and it became quite necessary that I obtain some information for my job. So I sat next to a lady, but I was real timid, and I didn't want to ask her what it was I needed help with. So intense was my desire to ask the question and obtain the information that this thought dominated my mind to the exclusion of all others. My desire for knowledge increased for a few minutes, but I decided to just let it go. At this junction, the lady next to me asked me if I knew such and such about work, which was exactly what I was desiring to know. When I replied no, she gave me all the information without me requesting it. Anna, how could you happen to tell me all that just now? She replied, I don't know. I just happened to think about it and thought I would tell you. But I knew that the thought wave sent out of my mind was so intense that she received it in her subconscious mind, causing her to respond to my desire. If this sounds interesting, you can order my book on Amazon. I heard the Hammond House bought a copy of it at the library for local authors. Here's a brief summary of the book. It was published in 1908. The Soul Power of the Universe by Jessie Rogers. The book explores the living fire as a metaphor of the soul power of the universe. I argued that this power is present in all things and that it is the source of life and creativity. The book is divided into several chapters, each explore different aspects of the living fire. I discuss the history of the concept, tracing its roots way back to ancient civilizations, exploring its prevalence in various religions and spiritual transitions. I also examine the scientific basis for the concept, drawing on the latest research in physics and cosmology. Throughout the book, I emphasize the importance of tapping into the power of living fire in order to fill a need, fulfilling and meaningful life. I provide practical advice for doing so, including meditation, visualization, and other spiritual concepts. It is a must read for anybody interested in spirituality, self-improvement, and personal growth. This sacred antique book is facsimile reprint of the old original and may contain some imperfections such as library marks
Oh, you can leave that part out.
and notations. Because we believe this book is culturally important, we have made it available as part of this. Oh, not to do that. She ordered it, but it didn't come to her. The story may not be complete without mentioning my children, who were my pride and joy. My son, Marshall Patterson, was a painter, a printer in the newspaper industry. He died in an automobile crash in 1932 in Chicago. He was only 38. My daughter, Rosanna, married Walter Ziegler Miller and was a housewife. My daughter, Messina, whom I mentioned earlier, studied at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago from 1921 to 1925, while supporting herself as a bank clerk and proofreader. Our quirky and unique lifestyle played a significant part in the style of her work. She can see the influence of UFOs and other phenomena from living with two parents who studied mysticism and ancient civilizations. This early exposure allowed her to express herself creatively with ease without needing to try to fit into some traditional art styles. Messina was a great spirit, and you can see why she stood out from her peers at our school. She quickly won notice for her strong, striking, surrealist paintings and would go on to participate in an exhibition around Chicago throughout her career. In 1927, she received the August Peabody Award from the University of Chicago, and she won first prize from the Chicago Galleries Association from 1945 to 1956, which I was gone by then, but I'm proud of her. She was a fellow of the International Institute of Arts and Letters, belonged to both the Art Club of Chicago and Chicago Society of Artists. During her career, she was a committed feminist who once challenged an art critic. In print, he said that no woman had ever painted a nude of the highest, herself nude. In 1933, climb up one. She's been credited by the first American woman artist to paint a self-portrait of herself nude. In 1933, Century of Progress exhibition at the Art and at the Art Institute of Chicago, one of her paintings was displayed alongside those of Monet, Van Gogh, Whistler, to name a few. Messina died in 1986, which is not that long ago, in Chicago, and is buried near her father and her sister. I returned to Union City to be buried by my parents. I may not be a name found in most history books, but my life tells a unique story of spiritual exploration, intellectual daring, maternal strength. From my early days surrounded by elixirs, mystics, and metaphysical ideas in Union City, to the years I navigated life as a widow and later divorced mother in Chicago. I define the expectations placed on a woman of my time. My work as a writer, a healer, an editor, a spiritual thinker placed me at the heart of a movement that sought to blend science, faith, and ancient wisdom. Together, my daughter and I represent a rare lineage of women who dared to think differently, live boldly, and leave behind legacies not defined by conversation, but by courage and wisdom. Vision. Our stories remind us that even though a small town like Union City can arise ideas and art and people that reach far beyond their times. Now, I understand there's 2 pictures available to be bought. They're kind of pricey. So, but
Yeah.
can you imagine